What does it say?
It says pin upper collar and facing lining.
Okay, stop right there. This is upper collar. It's on the lining. This is the facing, and this is the lining. So she said pin upper collar and facing and lining. To what?
To the under collar and jacket.
Okay, so here's the under collar and the jacket. Okay, so now we need to pin these together. So let's do it in the order they said. Let's start with the upper and under collars. Now remember, your under collar is on the bias. The first thing that needs to happen is it needs to correspond with this center mark. This is the center of the under collar because it's been sewn together with a seam. All right.
Right sides together.
Always. Yes. So now see this lines up. Now notice I'm not lining it up to interfacing, fabric to fabric. So get to that corner first. Get to this corner. Now, do you notice it's too big? It's bias. We've been playing with it too much. So it has stretched somewhat. But we can get it to fit, okay? So I just want to double check. So checking to make, yep, we're right in the middle. Okay, so remember when I told you about the thing, where is it? The little fortune teller thing? Or have I talked to you about that?
Yeah.
All right, so this is where it becomes crucial. We got our little fortune teller thing. Okay, and if you all see, it has a dot right in the middle, right? Okay, this intersection right here has a dot. All four pieces come together, but they don't get sewn together, okay? So we're gonna sew on each one like this. I'm gonna sew, let me show you. I'm gonna sew, these are stitches, up to there and stop. I'm gonna sew up to there and stop. I'm gonna sew up to there and stop. I'm gonna sew up to there and stop. And it actually happens that many times, and then when it all comes together, notice none of the red stitches on any of these seams comes across and attaches it like this, where I can't open it. So at the end of the day, I should be able to look down in the middle and see how I can look down in the middle. There's a little teeny tiny hole there, okay? That's what we're going for, this effect. It should all, these two should be sewn together, these two should be sewn together, then they get sewn together, but it all comes together where it doesn't cross over. Once you learn to do this, I call them quadruple intersections. They happen all the time. They are the hardest thing in construction to achieve. But once you learn to do it and you respect the dot, you've got it, okay? So, if anybody can look in their pattern and find the upper collar, either upper collar, under collar, facing and jacket front pieces. I can show you on the pieces, okay? But while you're looking, I'm going to do this on here. All right, so you see what we've got right here? This is what we're going to sew together and get the little teeny hole. And the hole I just showed you on there is right there. That's the hole we're trying to achieve. If I sew these two together and go one stitch too far, I've made it attached to the collar. If I sew the collar and go one stitch too far, I've attached it to the lapel. We want those all to be free from each other, okay? So now what I'm going to do is, remember I told you to stop 5/8 of an inch back, put a good knot on it, because see how I'm pulling on it? I don't want it to start opening up. So now when I'm pinning this, I pull these down. Do you see where that stitching stops? Can you see that? Mm-hmm. I'm going to put a pin in there and then come out. I am going to start stitching exactly where that pin went in and go up and around. When I get to this side, I have the same phenomenon. I've got to pull this together. What I'm doing is lining up these two intersections. line that up, fold that down, put my pin in where that stitching stops, go across. You see where the pin went in? That's where I'm to stop sewing. So I start sewing on the other side, exactly where the pin went in. I stop sewing on this side, exactly where the pin went in. Okay? So let's do it. And then as soon as you find pattern pieces, I'll show you a little better what it's supposed to look like. Okay? So we're going to come in here. Now watch this. I could come in here like this and turn it. Step back for a second. I'm turning the jacket, I'm bringing it in upside down, okay? Because I don't want there to be one stitch out of line or one stitch that's crooked because the jacket's hanging off the table. This is the, now can you see, get in there a little bit closer, Portia. Let me get a pin. Can you see, if you could see right there, I'm trying to make the pin shiny, there it is. Right there is where this pin holding it together is going in. I'm putting my needle down there. Then I'm putting the pressure foot down. Okay? Now I'm gonna back stitch it and back stitch it good. And don't go one stitch too far. Again, now I'm getting to the corner, pick it up. Now I'm gonna swing the jacket around with it so that it's feeding in the direction I'm trying to sew. I'm lining these edges up. Now I'm going to pull just slightly on it because my bias area got a little too big.
Should this be 5/8?
Always. What's the rule on 5/8?
It's always going to be 5/8 unless they.
Unless otherwise specified. Yes. Okay, so now I want that to be fluid. Whenever you stop, put the needle down. That way it can't move and shift a stitch over to the left or to the right. Put the needle down. Now let me regroup and get this lined up properly. Okay? Okay, so now get this lined up properly. There. Now I'm at 5/8, put the needle down, spin it. Now I'm pulling the jacket towards me. Now I need to get all this stuff out of the way, pull this back and pull, see this under one? Pull that back so they don't get sewn up. They need to be down. Put the needle. Now I am aiming exactly for where this pin, now if you notice right here, it's not quite 5/8, it's more like 4/8 or maybe 7/16. It's a little bit short. I don't care. That's my point I'm aiming for. That gives me accuracy. Okay? That's more important right now. Go to there. Okay, if you look, I hit it right at the pin. Can you see it? The stitch stops at the pin. It doesn't go one stitch further. Okay? So this one's done correctly. And now I examine the whole thing. I got a little loopy right there. I think it'll be okay. You can see it's a little teeny bit crooked. Yeah, it's got to be that precise. Because what am I doing when I make this? I'm creating the shape and the exterior line of the collar. I do not want a collar on the back of her with her saying I made this going like this. Okay? I want it straight. I am now creating an exterior line. It's that important. And when I do the facing, it's just as important. It's the edge of the lapel. It's the edge of the rounded tip on the front, okay? So I want all these things to be clean and exactly the same. The right has to be exactly the same as the left, okay? Okay, you can stop.